r/AskReddit. What's the weirdest thing you've done to get laid? Drove an hour each day to take my dog to a dog park because there were lots of gorgeous ladies there. Accidentally asked a girl on a date that lived 1,000 miles away. I'd matched her on a dating app while on business, but didn't notice where she was from. We kept talking anyways, and I ended up securing the date. She flew out to see me. We dated long distance for a long while, and then I moved to be closer. We're married now. Chatted a lady online long enough she finally agrees to go out. Tells me ahead to pick her up as she trusts her dog to be a judge of men and wants her dog to meet me. No worries. Before I show up I smear some raw hamburger on my shoes. The dog loved me. Easy peasy. I pretended to be afraid of flying once on a plane because the woman next to me was hot. Got her number and hooked up with her later. Edit. Since people seem surprised this worked, I'm too for on starting conversations with people on planes this way. The second I didn't ask for her number though. Literally in 2017 I would wear an unpadded bra and put wireless earphones in it to look like hard nipples. Get married. I was young and raised in religion and there was a girl I was head over heels with and we got married 6 months after meeting. It was odd and weird to say the least, but more like ignorant and stupid. The marriage lasted less than a year and I knew her less than 20 months total. Definitely not the weirdest thing, but I used to have a pretty dumb and kinda slutty friend. Every time she would come over I would run upstairs to my room and pretend I was napping. She would always let herself in and come up to my room and hop in bed to wake me up. I got laid most of the time. I feel like if I was sitting downstairs with my roommates when she came over, it probably wouldn't have happened as often. Hot girl said solving a Rubik's Cube is so attractive, so I took a whole weekend to learn how to do it. Couldn't wait to show her. When I did at school on Monday she said oh that's cool. Didn't get any play, but now I can solve a Rubik's Cube in 30 seconds lol. Stupid college days. We would take my dog for a walk, would hook his collar to a fishing pole, let him run around, and when girls would oh and oh, we would slowly reel him back in, and they would come talk with us. Early 2000s college was weird. My friends with benefits was on date that was super weird. She messaged asking me to come grab her as her brother while pretending to be angry. She was an hour away, so I left and kept calling her to make it seem real. Went there and made a scene and took her away. We then drove to a parking lot and she wanted to return favor with amazing sex. Waited outside in my car for 45 minutes for her and her ex to stop fighting and him to leave so I could get in. I walked from Arlington to Dallas to lose my virginity when I was 15. I reached her house after 16 hours of walking. I didn't have money for a taxi, but had the money to buy condoms and a gym membership so I could wash my ass before heading to her house. I got there at like 4 AM. Got to her house at 4:30 AM. It was the most romantic thing anyone had ever done for her, a 15-year-old girl, and we had sex in her room. I was tired from walking for 16 hours just to get laid. She was tired from worrying about me all day. So we slept till noon the next day. When we woke up her mom said go get him cause she looked in the room to see 2 high schoolers cuddling in bed. She didn't give us a speech. I overheard her talking to my mom over the phone saying, if this boy walked 16 hours to duck my daughter there's nothing either of us could have done, and we both just laughed so hard. We spent the day together, then her mom drove me home. She gave me a speech on the way home. My mom beat my ass for the first time in years. When I got home, my god the difference between black and white parenting is wild LMFAO. Followed an entire season of American Idol and sat through movies like Garden State and The Notebook over and over again. You could have asked me anything about that season of American Idol and I could have answered it. She had to miss a couple episodes because she had to work, so I recorded them and gave her a rundown when she would call me on her drive home from work. She'd come over to my place after work and we'd watch the episode I just fully described to her. It's the only season of that show I've seen, and I had never watched a single episode before I met her or after we split up. Had to send her kids to school every Thursday so I can have booty weekends, Saturday and Sunday. We were not committed to each other. I was 21, she was 30. It was strictly trading. Lasted for 7 months, then she got married again. Edit. She was and still is my neighbor. Flew to China. Met a girl. She was heading to China to teach English about a month later. We had a good month before she left. She invited me to meet up in China to see Tiger Leaping Gorge. I went. Had the sexes. Climbed a mountain, but the road was blocked, so we wouldn't have a way back. So we never saw the gorge. Met up a few months later in Phuket. Yada yada, were married with 2 kids. I learned Spanish in middle school to impress what was a beautiful skinny new student that just came to the school and didn't know any English. She said no, and I started a different language and forgot Spanish. Learned to play I'm Yours by Jason Mraz on the ukulele for my friend's Hawaiian themed wedding and played it while the bride walked down the aisle. Mission was a success. Ended up hooking up with the maid of honor's sister. Jumped into a pool with my clothes on, reasoning the girl I was flirting with would invite me back to her apartment so I could change my clothes. It worked. The sex wasn't worth it, though. I can tell you the weirdest way I got laid. This was the military dorm in England, late 90s. I'm just playing StarCraft, minding my own business, when there's a knock on my door. I open it, and there's the girlfriend of a guy who lives downstairs. She says, I really wanna get laid, but my friend is here with me. Can she stay with you tonight? Naturally I said yeah. She turns and goes to the end of the hall and waves her friend around the corner. I'd met her in passing once in the dorms, but never spoke to her. She does a fast intro and pushes her into my room. We are both standing there kind of awkwardly as her friend leaves to go get laid. She turns back and says, oh, she really likes her bum smacked, too. We look at each other and laugh, then close the door. It gets crazier because I become the de facto friend drop-off zone for the dorm. A sort of on-call wingman for my boys. I didn't have to do shit, and over the span of a year they brought me 3 more women. Lied to my friend that I needed a history essay on the slave trade, even though I worked in steel making. Told him it was a manager's course. He wrote me the essay, I claimed it as my own, and give it to a girl I was chatting to who needed help. I got laid, the girl passed her essay/assignment, and I kept it secret for something like 15 years till I told him during my best man speech at his wedding. I was polite to my friend's sister the first time we met. Later that night, she popped her bra off and put my hands under her shirt. Then, the 4th or 5th time we met up, she dragged me upstairs to her bed. Never flirted or anything the first night. I was just well mannered. That itself wasn't weird, but I'm still confused as to how that led to getting laid. Was I the first person nice to her? I'm lost to this day. Not laid, but got head from this girl, who was a really bad artist. I pretended to like her stuff and was very complimentary. Bought a little piece for $10 and she was thrilled. Turned the convo into an it's been a while thing, and next thing you know she's rectifying that for me. The daughter of the mayor of our city was insanely good looking. She and I were good friends in high school, but I always felt she was way out of my league, so I never even attempted to even ask her out. She disappeared after high school and resurfaced about 5 years later when we crossed paths in a local supermarket parking lot where we talked for hours standing outside our cars. She acted very interested in my conversation, and she asked me if I would like to come to her house for dinner later that week. I eagerly agreed. The sexual tension I felt was pretty high. I really thought I was going to finally get lucky with this attractive woman at long last. The day arrived, and I went over to her house for dinner. She fixed a really nice meal. Afterwards we went into her living room, where she had a dry erase board on a stand in the living room facing where we were sitting. After a minute or two she stood up and started her Amway sales pitch. She lured me to her house to try to convince me to join Amway. I thanked her for dinner and told her that I wasn't interested. I left confused and with blue balls. Girl I like was sad about her friend, who was also single. The friend couldn't get a date to save her life. She wasn't ugly or anything, just had no personality and was kinda gloomy. I told the girl I wanted to bang that I'd take the friend out and show her a good time if the girl I wanted agreed to let me do the same after. She agreed to it. The friend was actually really fun. We went ziplining to a fair thing and capped the day off at the dog park with my pup, who didn't hate her, which was shocking. She got to pet so many dogs. She was thrilled. We never had sex, but I would have had she given me any signal. She was that fun. I went out with the girl I wanted to go out with a few days later. Made a plan for a few fun activities. When I went to her house to pick her up, she pulled me in, and we had sex right away. Didn't do any of the other stuff. I regret not ducking the friend. Or hell, dating her. The girl I wanted was not as fun in bed as I'd imagined she'd be. Wait in a car for over 12 hours for her dad to leave. It was very cold and my heater didn't work good in my Beta from college. Her dad was in the Mayfair, so I had to be extra sneaky, but glad this was primarily before camera phones and doorbell cameras. This was winter break in college and I stayed for athletics, and she was an hour away at home. He left. I got in, banged her into another dimension, had breakfast with her and her mom who was my co-conspirator, and then left and went back to the dorms. We ended up going our separate ways, but if he knew a non-Italian was raw dogging his only baby girl I would probably be dead. She gave the best head though. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.